Okay, so to get started in our next lesson, learning objective for writing, we are going to be talking about historical fiction, and we're going to be learning how we can elaborate our ideas. And what that really means is I'm going to be looking for you to be really pushing your thinking, kind of like we've been practicing in both reading and writing, but in a way that really almost sounds like you're having a conversation, that your ideas are being heard by going back into the text and connecting these ideas. Some of the prompts you might hear today are phrases like, for example, or I realize that, or what surprises me. And we're going to be connecting this to how can we provide details about a character that we have read about. So today I want to teach you that when writers want to elaborate their ideas, meaning make them bigger, grow them, in this case about a character, they can use some of the same prompts and phrases that people use in conversations to elaborate. And the reason we do this is because it actually sounds more natural and it actually makes a lot more sense when we do it this way. These kinds of prompts help writers to elaborate, to say more, think more, and to write more, because that is our goal as fourth graders. So, ways to push your thinking. These should sound pretty familiar as we have used some of these phrases already throughout the year, but I do think it's important to remind you. So, some of the prompts or phrases that we'll be using to push our thinking today is the important thing about this is, or I'm realizing, this is giving me the idea that, this connects to, the thought I have about this is, what surprises me about this is, and this makes me think. You can also use other phrases if you're saying something like, for example, or also, or anything else that's really connecting your idea to text evidence or your thoughts is also okay. So we're going to get this started and kind of show you how ways to push your thinking can be in action. So just like we said, that pushing your thinking and using these prompts make it sound like a conversation, I'm going to show you what that means. So I'm going to talk about, that amazing book we all love, Fox, that includes dog and magpie and fox. And I'm going to show you a conversation. And while it was being discussed, I jotted down some ideas and prompts that helped me grow some ideas. So I'm going to give you the idea first, just so you have an idea of what I'm discussing in this conversation. And the idea I came up with was dog is caring, but also lonely. And that's the first step in elaborating on an idea. The first step is choosing an idea, coming up with one. And it's simple. And you can see here I put blank is blank. So you can say dog is caring. Or if we were talking about Rob and Sistine from The Tiger Rising, you can say Rob is sad, or Sistine is sassy but nice. Those are all ideas that I already know I can come up with, and I can start thinking about, how can I connect it to details? How can I grow these ideas bigger? So let's take a look. So this is just a conversation about that idea I read to you, that dog is caring but also lonely or sad. So I'm just going to quickly go through the conversation, and I want you guys to notice how the prompts from our push our thinking chart are developed in this conversation. I think that dog is caring but also lonely. For example, it says that he runs through the charred forest and takes her to his cave below the river. There aren't any other animals around. I agree. Another example of dog being caring is that he takes care of Magpie when she's hurt, not leaving her side. Where do you see evidence of that? Can you go back to the text and find a specific place that shows it? So again, that's just showing how a conversation can actually help you with your writing. If you come up with an idea like dog is caring but also lonely and give an example, that's great. You're putting it into your own words, but you want to also find that evidence. Oh yeah, well, Magpie finally wakes up and the text says, dog is waiting. He didn't go anywhere for a week. He just sat and waited for Magpie. It's like she is all he has. I see what you're saying, and I agree. On the other hand, it could be that dog is happy to be alone, but wants to be a good friend to Magpie and help her. Could it be that dog is both caring and sad? Characters are sometimes more than one thing. So that's also really important when you're thinking about the characters you'll be writing about today. If you have more than one idea about them, that is amazing. That's actually pushing your thinking past fourth grade, like fifth and sixth graders. If you have more than one idea, you want to continue writing about those ideas, but you want to make sure you're pushing your thinking by connecting it to text evidence. That makes sense. Him being sad can connect with our first idea about him being caring but also lonely. He is lonely and he knows what it's like to be sad since he is blind in one eye, and maybe that is why he is so caring. For example, when Magpie says she will never fly again and Dog says I know, he understands her pain. So again, I hope that this is an example of a conversation, but the way this conversation happens, we can also turn it into a writing response, which I will show you in a minute. But I do hope that you saw how we were able to use those prompts to push our thinking in a conversation about a text. So I'm going to take that kind of same conversation and I put it in a response form, in a written response form, using those same prompts, pushing my thinking about an idea. I think that Dog is caring but also sad. For example, it says that he runs through the charred forest and takes Magpie to his cave below the river, and there aren't any other animals around. Another example that shows Dog is caring is that he takes care of Magpie when she is hurt and doesn't leave her side. This connects to, that really should be bold there, but I think we get the idea. This connects to the text where it says Dog is waiting. He didn't go anywhere for a whole week. He just sat and waited for Magpie. It's as if that's all he has. So to me, he definitely seemed like he was lonely and wants a friend around. This makes me realize that maybe he was sad because he didn't have anyone around, and having Magpie will slowly make him feel better. This also makes me think, since Dog is hurt, blind to one eye, and Magpie is also hurt because of her wing, he knows what it's like to go through a struggle and feels her pain. So do you guys see how I just took that one simple idea, Dog is caring but also sad, but I did something called elaborating. I made it bigger. I grew this idea and I was able to do that. So if you're feeling stuck and you're like, I'm not sure what to say, let's go back to that chart. And I want you to think about the important thing about this is if you choose one of these prompts, I'm telling you, you'll be able to start growing your ideas. You're going to start putting it into your own words, finding details from the text, and get to writing. So to continue, to review, this is really the steps that you're going to be following today to really meet today's goal of elaborating on an idea. So many of us come up with ideas about a text or about a character, but we just kind of stop there. Like if we were to talk about the tiger rising and I asked you to tell me an idea you have about Rob. Some of you might say, Rob has a lot of sadness. I would totally agree with that, but I would start pushing your thinking. Why? Can you find evidence from the text? Does that connect to anything else? What idea does that give you? How do you know? And once you start thinking of it like a conversation, the writing is just going to happen. So to review, I was able to choose an idea about a character from a text that I have read. So I chose a character, Dog, from the text Fox, and I developed an idea. Then I was able to write about the character, except do it in a way like an author. So I didn't just say Dog is lonely because that's what it said in the story. I used prompts to push my thinking and helped connect my idea to specific parts of the story. And I put it in my own words. This gives me the idea that. This makes me think. And that's exactly what you're going to do today. So how we're going to do this is we're going to connect it to our historical fiction reading. So today I would like you to think about our read-alouds, Rose Blanche and Star of Fear, Star of Hope, and consider all of the characters that we have met. So there's Rose, and we also have characters from Star of Fear, Star of Hope, and I want you to start thinking about those characters and choose a character you would like to grow an idea about and then write about them. So once you kind of get an idea about your character and you're thinking, okay, what do I want to say about this person? Whether you want to say they're nice, they're happy, they're lonely, they're sad, they're nervous, whatever the idea is, it's your idea. And you're going to go back into the text to support it. So after you chose a character, just kind of to reiterate, after you chose a character to write about, think about an idea you have about them. You can think about how you would describe this character to a friend. Because remember, if you're thinking about it as a conversation, it's going to become a little bit easier to start using these prompts to push your thinking. This makes me think, I realize, and you're going to develop that idea and start asking yourself, can I support this idea with details from the text? And if you're having a hard time thinking about details that support your idea, then maybe think of a different idea or a new character. What evidence can you use, and how can you push your thinking? And to do that, make sure you take a look back at our chart.